Hi, and welcome to Visibility Unlimited. I'm Leslie Short, your host and the owner of the Cavu Group. We work with organizations and companies, brands to expand beyond their current culture. Visibility Spotlight is our video portion of Visibility Unlimited, the podcast. I am looking forward to speaking with my guests because he is solving a pipeline issue that we keep having a conversation about. So before I get deep into my whole thing about this, I would like for everyone to welcome Kwasi Platt.
Hi,
Well,
Leslie. Hi, Leslie. Nice to speak with you again. Uh,
likewise. So happy. Kwasi and I had the opportunity to meet at a WBE event in Philadelphia, which is really about companies that are certified, that are Black and Brown companies, women, veterans, and to work with government and other opportunities of different departments. And we kind of clicked, and he said what he was doing, working with HBCUs. And I was like, I need to speak to you. So after that conversation, here we are. Please share with everyone who you are and what you do.
like you said, my name is Kwasi Platt. I founded the Plattinum Agency, which is a company that helps HBCU students and graduates with their career development, mentoring, coaching, resume help, those sorts of things. And then on the corporate side, I connect with companies to help them hire HBCU graduates and students for their open positions and internships, full-time jobs, kind of encourage them to seek HBCUs as a place to source talent.
So, why did you start this? Who are you? Who are you to start this? What
Yes,
gave you this light bulb?
definitely great question. I graduated from Savannah State University in Savannah, Georgia, which is a small HBCU. Our most famous alumni is Shannon Sharp, the former NFL player. Um, so
Okay.
I graduated from Savannah State as a math major when I was there. I went to graduate school at Temple University in Philadelphia and got a master's in financial engineering. And so after that, I started my career at JP Morgan Chase as a data quality analyst. And then I switched over to a business analyst role at the firm. So basically, I worked there for about 3.5 years. As I was looking for new positions to kind of transition closer to home. I was having the hardest time getting interviews and getting to that next step of finding a new job opportunity for myself. And one day I was just thinking, like, as I'm getting off of these calls with staffing agencies and recruiters, like, what if there was a recruiting agency that specifically catered to HBCU graduates and students and help guide them through their career path? And so
So,
that was,
wait, I'm sorry. I have to. So, your notice, I'm going to jump in. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but it triggers. So, do you feel that you graduating from an HBCU was not helping you or was hindering you? Like, what was it that still said,
that was the thought I had when it came back to it. Because as I'm looking back on my career, I'm thinking, okay, you're working at the world's largest bank, or one of the most known banks in the world. You have a master's degree. Like, what else could you have done? What is causing people to look at your resume and see that you don't are not qualified to take the next step in these interviews? And the only thing I could think of was probably my HBCU education.
right?
Which, to be fair, really didn't make sense to me. But I think it was a combination of things, like the fact that I went to HBCU, the fact that I majored in math. Like, that's another thing that people kind of see and they don't really know what to take from that.
I would think finance. Maybe I'm silly. I don't know. I,
Exactly,
I would think
problem solving,
right.
analytic abilities, like all these things. That's what I
Yes.
thought. That was what I thought myself. Like, people should see this and know that I can understand problems, analyze them, break something down in different parts, put it back together, and make it work out.
Uh, Well, in the last, let's say, 2 years, right? Corporate America has been like, oh, there's something called HBCUs.
Yes. Yep.
That's where black and brown people are. Wow. Let's give them money and we'll be good. Let's figure out. We have fashion companies that are doing deals and making, outfits, and companies are writing checks, and we want to do mentorship and we want to do all of this. But HBCUs have been around a very long time. It
Yeah.
is not new. So, what do you say to these companies that are coming to you now looking for students or graduates from HBCUs?
So I come at it from a few different ways, but I think the thing that works the best is to list out the numbers. HBCUs, there are only 107 HBCUs in the United States, which makes up 3% of all colleges and universities. But when you drill down deeper into that number and look at different fields, the graduates of HBCUs, and then looking in like corporate America, 50% of African American teachers are HBCU graduates. 40% African American health professionals are HBCU graduates. 70% of dentists and physicians went to an HBCU. 80% of judges.
Keep on telling it.
Exactly. All of these things are.
I'm serious. Keep on telling it, because I don't think people really realize the power and the talent.
Exactly. You have this small group of schools, but you're getting so many talented Black professionals out of these schools, and they're going on to do amazing things, founding companies in all sorts of industries. Right. So that's kind of one of the things I think that helps a lot, like starting from that point. And then encouraging them. Like I said, there was 107 schools, but unfortunately, we only hear a certain 4 or 5 schools all the time. So you have to look at the smaller schools like the Savannah States, the Alabama States, like, all these different places where there are still talented students there. They're, can come to your organization and have a positive impact.
Right. So when you were at your school, did you have corporations coming down and doing their introduction work day, or saying here's an internship or mentoring?
We did. I remember one in particular that stands out in my mind. Let me think of the company. Wow.
You don't have to tell them, but
no, I honestly, I can't remember the name of the company, but I remember they did come to like the business school and we're there for a few days on talking about what their company does and doing mock interviews, that sort of thing. Right. But that's not something that's common. That was something I realized when I was in my first job at JP Morgan. I kind of, one of my managers, he was a Penn State graduate. And so he would be out of office for 4 or 5 days, a couple of times per year, because he's going to Penn State, interviewing people for the upcoming internships, upcoming full-time positions for a week. And I'm like, okay, Delaware State is 30, 40 minutes away from here. Is anyone going there doing the same thing? Do we have? I'm sure we have Delaware State graduates here, but I know that they weren't going there and doing the same thing.
So let's just take that and take a pause for a second, because if anyone is listening and they keep saying, where do I find Black and brown talent, or how do I expand my internship, or really invest in diversity and building a pipeline, starting out by actually going to these schools and introducing your company and what you have to offer, as opposed to only looking what the student has to offer you, would be a first step.
Yes, exactly. Showing up on the campus and making your presence known and felt, because we don't know. If right. there are companies out there that are large companies, but if they come to your school, you don't necessarily know them. And then there's the other factor of like, people think, I don't know, Google, for example, they'll think just technology. The reality is they have operations, they have finance, they have HR, they have marketing, they have every single
right
part of that makes them a global company. Like, it's not just they do technology. There are so many other roles and positions you can have at these places that people just kind of aren't aware of, because we think one thing because of the industry that they're in or whatever the case is.
Right. So each side is really missing opportunity, is the way that I see it. Like you said, the student knows what they know. The companies have a perception of what they think, is maybe coming out of HBCUs. And until they take the time to invest in even just showing up for that career day, career week, how about doing it before then and building that pipeline? So what's your thoughts on internships? I know, and we'll get to people getting jobs and getting paid equally in a moment, but internships.
I think it's a great opportunity for people to get their foot in the door. Like I said, kind of understand what that corporate workforce environment is like. They're great. Obviously, that you have to do things throughout your college experience in order to get a job when you finish. You can't just go to school and go to class and then be like, okay, now I'm looking for a job. Like,
Right.
you have to be active on campus. These are things I tell the students and graduates I work with as well. Like, you have to be active in your passions while you're in school so that someone can see you're not just going to class and going through the motions. If you're starting clubs, if you're founding organizations and being a part of things,
Right.
be in leadership positions as well. Like, find different things to do that show that you're a more well-rounded individual. And getting internships is another part of that, right? You should be trying to find something to do every summer. I know people want to go home and just hang out and relax, but it's a lot more fun when you can go somewhere with an internship, make a little bit of money, and
Right.
still have some fun. Like,
And I know the big thing, because I always heard it working with celebrities and working with companies. Oh, unless you know someone, you don't get that internship, or unless you went to the same college as the person that is doing the interviewing, or they only go to the same five. And I think when we spoke before, I was just like, oh my God, build your internship program, because I know I was in a meeting last week in New York, and I did speak to a client about bringing in the interns. And I said, but I want to do it a different way. And I want to be able to give opportunities not only during the summer, but through some of the bigger award shows and things that they're doing. Even if it's somehow, I didn't tell you I reworked your business plan, but even if it's somehow, that week of the event, because you don't get that opportunity always, unless you're in California sometime, to work a show, to see what someone in the soundboard's doing, not only talent. And so,
yeah, exactly. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's about exposure, right? Like,
right.
if you're exposed to something and get to experience it, then it'll pique your interest to want to do it more. It'll encourage you to kind of look it up and see what other things you can do in that industry. I mean, there are so many different ways that people are motivated by that and take advantage of that, instead of just, like I said, if we don't know about it, we'll just kind of be, what's the word?
We're lost. What
Yeah,
is what we really are? We're lost. We it's hard to compete when you're competing with someone that's resume that may be the same grade, age, and field, but has 10 internships that they've been doing since the age of 16 or 17, because maybe they did know someone, or someone knew someone to get them inside.
exactly.
And so this is an amazing opportunity to, if a company says they're committed to expanding, and so we'll get to the workplace, but expanding their relationship, filling out how do they do retention of Black and brown folks, how do they build a pipeline. HBCUs is one way of doing it, but being invested early in.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about going for jobs, the job placement portion that you have.
Um, so
So, so in regards
talk about it, but I wasn't sure if that was a question or not.
well, will you share how you work with companies and placement
Yeah.
for?
So basically, usually what will happen if I'll develop a relationship with the company, they tell me some roles that they're currently hiring for, and I'll post it on my site, reach out to the current list of candidates I have, and I'll vet them. And before proceeding with the next steps, I want to, if their resume needs help or things like that, then I'll just kind of sit with them and talk to them about what changes they should make and why they should make those changes. And just kind of help them extrapolate information. Like I said, ask them questions about things they've done outside of their school that show they could be an asset to this company. And then once the resume and all those things are squared away, I'll send it over to the company and try to get them into the interview stage. And obviously from that point on, it's just kind of sealing the deal and doing well in the interview and getting hired.
Right. But you're not only doing students that have just graduated, correct? Are you doing beyond that? Maybe someone that's worked 2 or 3 years?
Yes, correct. Yeah. I
Okay.
wanted to cast a wide net because, I mean, why not? Everyone is looking for help, like I said,
Absolutely.
there are definitely different buckets of,
Mhm.
like I said, one from the recent graduate to experienced hire and current students, as well as people who have like a different level of preparation.
Right.
Again, we've kind of touched on before, there are cases where you can tell that kind of someone is trying to get to that next level, but they maybe have not had a person in their life to kind of help mentor them and coach them and tell them what's important to have on their resume so they can get to that next level.
Right. Wonderful. Well, I'm hoping that companies are again listening and just say, wow, there's special talent. I don't want to say special talent. There's talent. There's amazing talent, talented people that do not have the opportunity just because they're not within a circle. And that your Platinum Agency is a great way to at least begin one conversation, to build commitment, and to begin to expand. You know, I
Exactly.
as we spoke before, once they expand, that's sometimes where the Cavu Group steps in. If you were going to bring in anyone that is a diverse talent, whether it's with disabilities, Black, Brown, LGBTQ, anyone that doesn't look like you, walk like you, and sound like you, then you need to prepare your insides of your company culture to ensure that there is equity once someone is there. That's what the mentorship that you spoke about. Like, how do you pair someone inside? Once they're in, now what?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and kind of what I said in the beginning too, in terms of like what motivated me to start this. I've been fortunate in that I've had mentors and things like that throughout my life where I had 3 internships when I was in college, so I had one each summer, I guess. And so I already saw those types of things. And even I had one when I was in graduate school as well. So I have all these things that I saw on the way up, and I was still having trouble. So I'm like, for the people that didn't get a master's degree or whatever, like, what are they going through? I mean, I guess I know what they're going through
Right.
with them or my friends and things like that. But, it's like, wow, like, it's just crazy. I mean,
What are the top 2 things you want companies to know?
that the top 2 things.
You can give me 10. You probably have a list of 10, but
Yeah, I
give me
mean,
as many
I
as.
think I think that they should just be aware that, like I said, number one, if you're not in a student's, if you're not on their campus, they may not know about your company and what you do and that you exist and you have all these different lines of business.
Right.
There's that piece, and then there's if the companies are just now starting to look at HBCUs, how do you think they're going to get the experience that you're asking for in the job descriptions and interviews? They're not even able to get the experience because they're already, starting from a disadvantaged position, for example.
Right.
So there are things like that to consider as well. Like if you want someone with 3 to 5 years experience and they've already been looked over, and now they had to take a job in a different industry because they needed money and they had bills and all of these types of things, it's even harder for them now to switch back to what they wanted to do and, get that 3 to 5 years experience that you want them to have. It just kind of sets them back even further. So there's a lot of things that they should really be considering, when looking at.
Well, tell them, look, this is our opportunity to let them know. People come to me all the time.
There are those things I mentioned, and I as a HBCU graduate myself, I was in experiences where I feel like that sense of community prepares you more for the corporate workforce in some ways. Where I had professors. I was a math major, and so we had definitely smaller class sizes, like 8 to 10 in some classes, and so. There are times when the professors are not letting people in the class for being, 1 to 5 minutes late. They're closing the door and locking it where you're not allowed to come in. So they're teaching things like punctuality, or if you miss, a few homework assignments or 1 or 2, they're like automatically able to drop you a letter grade. You get 100 on every test because you missed those couple of homework assignments, you're not going to get an A in the class anymore. So there's accountability, responsibility, like these sorts of things that they kind of teaching you to work with your classmates and things like that, collaborate outside the classroom, doing extra work. It's more a very familial atmosphere,
Right.
Especially when you're at a smaller HBCU because everyone kind of knows each other. You're in all these classes together. And so these kind of things prepare you to be in that corporate environment and able to navigate things and be more effective.
That is wonderful. And I would say if there's anyone from a HBCU that is listening and want to connect, and that, maybe you're like, well, where was this when I was coming up? And then you have your brother and sister and cousins and neighbors, whoever, share the fact that the Platinum Agency is there, but also share the fact that they have to also do the research beyond what they see. You gave the perfect example of Google. There's more to any company than just what they're known for. Uh, so don't hold yourself back. If you want to be somewhere, reach out. Reach out.
Yeah.
And reach out to the Platinum Agency. I know you have like 50 different categories you're handling at this point, fields.
Yes, yeah. So roughly now there's about 44 or 45 HBCUs represented in, I guess, my candidate database,
Mhm.
and 50 majors. So just like I said, I'm trying to cast a wide net, and just help as many people as possible. Whether, like I said, they fall into those different types of buckets. If they just need opportunities, we definitely have those. If they're looking for help with their resume and those sorts of things, I help with those as well. And even when someone like first applies on the site, I kind of send out a deck that has information on just planning, organizing, Excel tips and tricks, all these different things that allow you to be successful in resume writing, all that type of stuff that allow you to be successful in your career, that you can just kind of refer back to and use that as a reference.
I love it. Well, I'm not sure when we are releasing this interview, but we are in August for our listeners. In August is Black Business Month. And so I am happy to spotlight you, Platinum Agency, as Black business to a business period, because we don't need to be labeled, but a Black business during August and a business all year round that is really serving a great opportunity, not only to the students, but to corporate America out there, and to any other, not only corporate America, but to other companies that have made a commitment to broaden their work base. So for that, I applaud you and I say thank you.
No, definitely. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. It was a pleasure to meet you at the, I guess, Diversity Summit,
Yes.
and to continue this conversation going forward. So definitely happy to continue this conversation and kind of help the community moving forward. Our website is plattinumagency.com with two T's, Plattinum agency.com. And yeah, on LinkedIn, it's the same thing, Platinum Agency, Instagram, Twitter, all those things. So yeah, just trying to help as many people as possible, help build the awareness that they're out there, and help provide more opportunities for HBCU students and graduates.
I love it. So corporate America companies, there's no excuse. You looking for HBCU students, reach out to Platinum Agency. That is one major way of connecting. Thank you so much for joining us today. And he just shared all of the information. And for us, you can reach us at the Cavu Group, the website, www.the Group, CAVUGROUP.com. I'm Leslie Short. I look forward to seeing you again, and I hope you look forward to hearing me again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye now.